Hello, and thank you for joining us for this video. Today, my name is Mac Ehrhardt. I'm chairman of Albert Lee Seed, and I am joined by Jake Hansen, our product manager, and we're going to talk about Blue River Organic Soybean seed today for the 2.4 to 3.0 maturity. Jake, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Mac. Like you said, my name is Jake Hansen. I've been with Albert Lee Seed now for 15 years, and the last 10 I've been serving as our corn and soybean product manager, helping Mac build our Blue River and Viking corn and soybean lines, and working really closely with him and genetics reps to kind of build what we feel is a very strong portfolio for you guys here today.
Good, thanks, Jake. Yeah, and that's Mac Ehrhardt, been with the company for 35 years. Used to do most of the variety selection actually, and Jake's doing a much better job than I ever did. And I think that shows in our yield trials results, which we'll probably talk about eventually. But we have I think honestly, the best available organic soybean lineup, and we have the yield data to prove it. So not to get too chesty about it, but we've got, and this, as Jake, we were getting ready for this to record this session, and Jake talked about this being sort of the bread and butter, meat and potatoes section of the Blue River lineup, because we sell a lot of soybeans in this maturity across the Corn Belt, and we've got a bunch of good choices here. And with no further ado, we'll dive right in.
You bet. So in this section here, we're going to talk anywhere from our 2.4 up to the 3.0 maturity, like Max said. Kick it off here with a very strong start with the Blue River 2418 at a 2.4. This is a dark hilum bean that has been around, I think we're on year 6 or so with this bean, and it's been one of our top sellers ever since we launched it. Not just because of its yield performance, but also the disease and defense that this thing brings to the table as well. You said excellent plant health, stands extremely well, fills a wide row very easily, and just overall, it's just been an outstanding performer from eastern Nebraska all the way through northern Ohio and even into southern Pennsylvania. It's just been a really strong, overall sound variety that I think really strengthens the start of this section here at a 2.4.
The only thing I'd add there is Jake didn't use the word consistency, although he implied it in just about everything he said. and that's the reason that we've carried this bean for so many years, and it's become so popular with our customers. Is just very consistently good soybeans. Again, a dark hilum soybean for the animal feed market.
Yep.
The one next to it is same maturity, but it's a yellow hilum food grade soybean called E24Y002. And it's, if you're asking yourself, why did you call it that? We didn't call it that. That's the name that the originator gave it. And the originator in this case was originally Emerge, which then got bought by Benson Hill and is now owned by Confluence, if you follow that. The bean has remained the same throughout. It's a really nice 2.4 yellow hilum food grade option. For those of you familiar with the old Blue River 2188, which we still sell, or the Iowa State equivalent to that, in our mind, it replaces that bean because A, it yields as much or more, B, it's got much better protein, and C, it stands a lot better. So you can see all the bullet points there. It's got a lot going for it at this maturity. And it's starting to get some traction with food grade companies. It's been in the marketplace for, I think this will be the 4th year now. And food companies are starting to recognize this variety. Much better standability than the old 2188, similar to better yields. Still has aphid tolerance, so it's got the RAG1 gene for aphid tolerance. And in general, it's going to give you a protein that's above 42%. Well, you can't ever guarantee that because Mother Nature is going to have something to say about the protein of your beans, but in general, in our testing, it's tested above 42%. So anything to add on that one, Jake?
No, I would just say, again, the consistency and the protein with this one has been very good. Not always going to hit that 42.5, like we say, but it's not far from it ever, even on a bad year. I think 2 years ago, I think the lowest I saw it was like 41.9 or something like that. So it's always hovering right around 42 or more protein. Next up, as Mac mentioned, the 2188 aphid tolerant bean. This is the bean that I always say we hate to love this bean. because it does a lot of things right, or some things right. It yields tremendously. It's always been very comparable to even like the 2418 and some other similar maturity beans around it, with often meeting close to that 42% protein contract. It is a food type bean, yellow hilum, that rag 1 and 2 aphid tolerant genetics. The only knock I have against it really is the standability late season as we come into the end of August and September where we are now. This one tends to tip over quite a bit as it's dropping its leaves. I have yet to have a customer mad at me that they couldn't harvest it. It's always very harvestable, but it kind of harvests ugly. It's not standing the greatest, but it's always competitive for yield, and it's always consistently in those near 42% markets. So it's widely accepted, widely known. Like I said, I don't like the standability of that variety very much.
So a couple additional things on this variety. Thank you, Jake. One thing is the maturity kind of floats on this variety. So this is an Iowa State variety called 2112 RA12, and they numbered it as if it were a 2.1. It's definitely later than a 2.1 in our mind, but we have seen it grown as far north as, say, almost Faribault, Minnesota, and south of Ames, Iowa. So it seems to flex its maturity a little bit depending on where you farm, and it's covered a broad area. Two, I'm going to push back on Jake a little bit. I don't think it's going to hit 42% protein most of the time, but it will exceed 40 most of the time. And it is widely accepted in the food industry. And then I think this is a good place to stop and talk about purity guarantee on our soybeans. All of our organic soybeans are going to be 99.75 pure or better, but we didn't want to create a whole separate purity guarantee on our soybeans, so we stuck with our pure and ultra pure system that we use in corn. So 2188 is an example of an ultra pure soybean, so we guarantee that this one will be 99.9% free of GMO, and that's for your food contracts. That's usually pretty important. They usually have a tolerance there, but of course you always want to check with whoever you intend to sell your soybeans to, so that you understand the GMO tolerance that they have. And then next to it, you see the 27B4, which Jake will talk about in a minute, and that's got the pure badge. And so what that means is we guarantee that it's 99% free of GM, but in practice, we're not going to sell that bean if it's got anywhere close to 0.5% GM, because we just don't want to get our customers in trouble.
Right.
Oh, one other thing, 2188 is a variety. Since it's an Iowa State variety, it does require you to sign a license before you plant it. There's a little note on that at the bottom of this slide, which we will not read to you, but you can read it in our catalog or on our website, or you can talk to your dealer about it, and you have to sign that before we can ship you the seed.
Right. And then one other thing I want to point out, this is a good spot to do it too. Pay attention to the seed count in some of these lines. For instance, the Blue River 2188 is packaged in 110,000 seeds per unit, and the 27B4 is packaged in 140,000. We have a few varieties in here that have different packaging, and that's based on seed size, trying to keep the unit size more manageable. So just pay attention to that as you go through all of these varieties.
All right. Well, we've talked about a lot, so let's talk about the high yielding one on this page.
Right. So then we'll kick right back into the product here. 27B4 was new to Blue River last year, and new for a very good reason, and that is yield. It brought a ton of yield to the table, along with standability, disease tolerance, great defense. This one out-yielded, oh boy, a lot of beans around it, up to a 3.2 or 3.4 maturity even, as we went across from Nebraska all the way through into Ohio. This one not only competed in trials, it won a lot of trials. As you see here, first place, Iowa State Central District, fourth place, Ohio State. This thing's beaten out a lot of even the best, enlist and extend beans on the marketplace, and it did it with ease. And so consistency and yield of this thing going across locations across the whole Corn Belt is fantastic, on a really good, impressive standing tall plant with good branching and shading abilities. I think this was a really nice update for us at that 2.7 maturity.
Good. I can't add anything to that. Nice job. 3054 is another true food type soybean. I think everyone in the food and the organic and conventional food industry, food soybean industry, will recognize the variety. We've sold it for a number of years, both conventionally and organically. Again, yellow hilum, very high protein. In fact, sometimes testing over 44%. This is another variety that sort of floats its maturity. Iowa State launched it as if it were a 3.0. We rate it as a 2.8. It gets planted all the way into northern Iowa where you'd never plant a 2.8. So it sometimes goes earlier than that. And there's some people who plant it and think it's a little later than a 3.0. But actually a pretty darn good yielding soybean for the protein level that it brings. It's unusual for a soybean that has a 42 to 44% protein to yield as much as this variety does. Also carries stacked aphid tolerance, which is a great thing for organic farmers, obviously. Not the best standing bean, but better standing than the 2188. And this is another variety that A is we guarantee 99.9% GMO free, and then B requires a license before we can ship you the seed.
Yep, and I will say it's a very attractive plant going into the fall. That dark brown color to it, and it really eye-popping out there too. The next one here is the 29DC5. This is a long time Blue River variety that's been around for quite a while, and it's always been consistent and performing well on organic ground. I think it gets out of the ground extremely fast, gets to canopy as quick as a soybean can in most areas, but it's always been competitive for yield. And the consistency of it, I think, this is what keeps this thing going, moving forward, especially on those organic acres. It stands really well. It's got great disease resistance. The overall plant health, even late season or even in some wet conditions like we're seeing this year, it's been quite exceptional. Got a lot of great comments on this one, even moving east into Ohio and parts of Indiana, where this one still just is holding strong and doing very well. Last one we'll talk about here, another one of my favorites. I think it's a great complement to like the 27B4. This is 30B4. It's another 3.0 bean. This is another one that brings a ton of yield to the table, all across that 3.0 maturity range from east to west. You can even take this thing south a little ways as you get down into like late group 3 territory. I think it's still going to hold on to its health, its standability, its height. It's going to do really well. As you can see here, the yield performance on it doesn't really take a backseat to anything. First place, Ohio, and that's not just one or two locations, that's all of them in northern Ohio. Third place in Region 2, Illinois. Third place, Iowa State. So you can see the consistency in this bean as you move east to west across locations. Again, strong early growth. It stands extremely well. Great disease package on it. Same as you would see in that 2.7. I had one knock on it. It's the larger seed. As you can see, this is a dark hilum that we do package in 110,000 seeds per unit. It's just a little bit bigger seed, but that doesn't seem to take away from its emergence or early vigor. It's just been an outstanding bean for us since we launched it here 2 years ago.
Thanks, Jake. And that concludes this section of Blue. Oh, wait, I guess one slide too early.
One slide too early. You're closer, Mac. I included this slide just to highlight how strong this group of soybeans that we just talked about really is. As you can see here, this is just a quick snapshot of some of the results that this group of beans did. You know, as you can see here, that 2.4, 2.7, 3.0, that is a great package of soybeans to be putting out on organic farms. It's not really going to slouch, and they really don't take a backseat to anything.
Yeah, thanks for putting that together, Jake. And again, not all these trials, but many of these trials are combined Enlist, Roundup Ready to Extend, and conventional non-GMO beans in the same trial. And these beans will keep up with the best available soybeans on the marketplace, no matter who's selling them. You can plant these with a lot of confidence that there's no yield drag on any of these organic beans we're selling you. These are some of the best available beans. So thanks for putting that slide together, Jake.
You bet.
And that will conclude that section on Blue River Organic Soybeans from 2.4 to 3.0. If you have additional questions on these beans, please talk to your dealer. You can find them on our website, or you can also call us directly if you have questions, and you can find our phone number on the website. Thanks for joining us today. And if you are interested in earlier soybeans or later soybeans or corn, we have other videos available on those as well. So thanks.
Yep, thank you.